follow these guys. But the purpose and the intention behind us getting together and meeting is keeping our faith out of when we get out of high school and moving into this real world. And some of us have been in college and some of us haven't. And so I hope it's relevant for everybody. But today's topic I really want to talk about is being intentional with doing that, because I can speak at least from personal experience that if you don't be intentional about going in and doing it, you'll finish your school year and be like, I had no plans on forgetting God, but I did. I went to church only at Christmas time when I came home with my parents. And it wasn't even on purpose, it just kind of happened. And so I just wanted to talk about what does that look like about being intentional with our faith and with God, and finding campus ministries wherever you're going. And then also, finding a church. Do you need to do both? Like, that's kind of what I'm looking at. And so that's why I asked Brett to come on, because that's what he does. He does campus ministry, and Brett's a lot cooler than me. I'm just gonna let Brett take it away a little bit to explain campus ministries and why it's important. And I'm sure he has Skylar to say a few things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Skylar is one of our leaders at Wesley. She actually does our social media campaigns and runs those accounts, and also is the person who connects our new students into the ministry. So she has an understanding of what that looks like. So I think her perspective will be good. So Jessica, what you said is just perfect, because as you said it, something came to my mind. So I went to Virginia Tech undergrad. For those of you who don't know, I grew up at First United Methodist in Salem my entire life. That was my home church. My parents are Van and Barbara Gresham. So some of you may know Barbara because she just knows everybody. So grew up in that church, went to Virginia Tech, and I actually did not get in to any campus ministries while I was there. And in fact, probably during those 3.5 years that I was at Tech, was probably a time in my faith that was the lowest. And there were some moments where I was like, oh yeah, this is great, because I'd come back and help out with the youth group, but I never got involved in community with people my age in college. And so I would come back home and go to church, every so often. But that was about it. So what you were saying, Jessica, is spot on. And now I'm a pastor, so in the United Methodist Church. So, it's what would that have looked like if I would have gotten involved in campus ministry? My big thing is, so campus ministry is going to look differently on different campuses. So, I know Hannah at Emory and Henry, right? It's kind of within the framework of the university, right? Like, it is a United Methodist institution. They have a chaplain, that type of thing, with campus ministries that are in it. At Radford and UVA and Virginia Tech, we have actually United Methodist campus ministries that are on campus. So really, United Methodism is really big on higher education, and so they were kind of the ones to start the campus ministry movement. That's just we were on campus and starting universities a long time ago. I would say it is not only vital for your faith, but it's vital for continuing what you have grown up to know with faith. And so, as you know from Jessica, and especially Alan, because he is very much a Orthodox United Methodist, connectionalism is really important. And we don't have a lot of young adult ministry, because a lot of our young adults will go to college and they'll get connected to non-denominational campus ministries and things like that, which can be fine for you. But I would say giving your connection, your United Methodist group, a chance. And if it's not for you, then finding something else. Because what we're seeing is we see people go to the non-denominational groups and then they're never coming back to the United Methodist Church because it looks totally different to them. What I'll also find is that a lot of students will go to college, they'll get involved in a non-denominational group and they'll go, this like doesn't, junior year, they're like, this doesn't feel right. Like there's just some things that are missing that I grew up with. And then they find their way back to, a Wesley Foundation or a United Methodist group. But I think the most important part, and then I'm gonna hand it over to Skylar, is the community building, because I believe that one of the best places where you grow your faith is in community with others. That's why youth group is so important. I know youth group for me was, youth group for me was a foundation of my faith because I had friends that I grew up just doing church with. And so finding that in college is really important. And I'll hand that over to Skylar and let you know so that she can tell you what that's looked like for her. And then I'll jump back in to tell you in your individual places, ways that you can do that.
Hi. Sorry if it's loud outside. I really needed to be outside and not inside today. But so I grew up non-denominational actually. So mine's like flipped. But I wasn't really looking for a campus ministry when I came to Tech. Like I wasn't really interested in like finding anything at Tech. I thought I would just go to, like you said, go to church on Christmas and then go on Easter and then be one of those like holiday hoppers basically. And then my friend, she was like, oh, well, there's this United Methodist campus ministry that we can go to if you want to like come with me. And I'd never been to anything United Methodist. I was like, I guess, are they like super like strict or like what's it like? She was like, just come and figure it out. And I came and
is it super strict? And then she met Brett and was like, oh, no,
I met
not
Brett
super
and I was
strict.
like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, no, we're super lax. But I've really found like my faith in college. Like I was not very connected with my faith before I came to college at all. And I never really like went to church regularly. Like my family and I, we just didn't go to church super regularly, but now like I go to church on my own to a place in Blacksburg. Like we do virtual church. And I've just found that Methodism is a denomination that like has really like connected me with my faith. And also just being around all those people who are just so loving and sweet and caring, like has just really helped my faith in college. And it's really important to have faith in college because like there's a lot of times when you might fail an exam or you might, something might go wrong and you need to pray a little bit. And it just, I don't know, it just really helps having like that strong community that can support you through those like hard times where you might feel a little alone in college. So, yeah.
Thanks, Skylar. I wanted to touch on a couple things real quick. So growing up in First United Methodist Church, it's such a wonderful community there. And what I didn't realize is that I really only had the faith of like my parents and the faith of my Sunday school teachers or my youth group leaders, which is good and that's necessary, and it is in that time of development really important. What I think that happens in college that's extremely important, and Skylar just alluded to it, is you come up with your own theology. You come up with your own faith, and you say, okay, I've had Caitlin, not Caitlin Curtis, Sarah Bessey, a Canadian author, Christian author. She grew up in the Pentecostal church and then kind of drifted away from church and then came back and was with a more, I guess, progressive group. And she has this illustration, this metaphor that I thought was perfect. She said, I grew up and I packed my bag with all of this theology in my church and and how I grew up. And then when I got on this journey on my own, so say for instance, going to college like you are, she realized, she was like, yeah, some of these things, like, they're really formative for me and they're great and they're holy, but I don't know that I believe them the same way right now. And so she said she took them out of the backpack and she placed them on the road of her journey and was like, this is holy and I can always come back to it, but I don't need to carry it right now. And then she says she started learning things and started kind of coming up with ideas on her own, and she would add those to her backpack. And so it's not that the things that we learn are wrong or, we don't need them. We can bless them and call them holy, but we don't have to carry them anymore as we begin to change and come up with our own understanding of who we are and our faith. And so I think that's probably the most important thing in college is building your faith, right? Through the tradition that you've grown up with and your parents and the church community, that you have that foundation on. But then you're going to start having some ideas and you're able to say, okay, I like that, but I kind of think this now. And so, I'm going to build my own theology. And I think that's the really important part in college is you're doing that on your own. And as Jessica said, part of that is a campus ministry. The other part is getting involved in a local church. And, for those of you who are nearby, you can still be at First United in Salem. For those of you who aren't, finding that place that fits you, because when you leave college, you're not going to have a Wesley Foundation, right? You're not going to have a campus ministry. And so you need to learn what it's like to live within a church community. And so all of our students are connected to a community of faith. So Skylar talked about Edges, which is where, I would say 90% of our students go. But then some like a more traditional service. So they go to Blacksburg United Methodist Church's traditional service. And so it just depends on what works for you, but finding a local church is important. I guess before I kind of start talking about individual campus ministries for y'all, what questions do you have about like your life of faith in college? What is, that maybe I can help with, or Skylar can?
I'll let them think on that, but I'm gonna, just so you know, Brett and Hannah went to Emory, but now is doing Liberty Online. So maybe if there's any conversation or any idea of what that looks like as an online student too, because that's hard.
Absolutely. And so you'll be at home?
Yeah, I've been living at home for the last year and
Okay.
Salem City Schools and helped Jessica out with the youth group. So
Yeah. I think that local church connection becomes even more important, right? But I mean, I think especially now, I mean, COVID is awful. I'm not trying to take away from that, but COVID has also given us opportunities. And if we don't take those opportunities, then it's the church's fault for not capitalizing on something that was horrible. My boss says that God makes blessings out of chaos, right? So like, the tragedies that are happening, God can still make blessings out of it. God can create. And so we now have a virtual arena, right? And so what Jessica is doing with college students, I think, is extremely important. But also, like, you can be involved with Wesley at Virginia Tech, right? Easily done because we do a lot of stuff now online. So if it's a small group that's not necessarily a small group that you can be a part of college students, or that's not an intergenerational one from the church, some of ours are going to be online. And so I think you'll be able to find some of that, in being home and doing online. It's just a matter of, Wesley at Tech is going to be trying to do that type of work. So I would say local church would be even more important for you, and finding those campus ministries that you can connect with virtually. And we're only 30 minutes up the road, right? So like, if we're doing some stuff in person, it's not like you can't, come up, because we are going to be very, very safe. We have tons of precautions and procedures in place. Ethan, definitely hope that you're going to come and hang out with us. And if you do, just know it's going to be safe. We have everything from, we're going to be doing temperature checks for people who are going to be entering the building, requiring masks. And we're going to set up our building in a way that is socially distanced. So our worship services aren't going to be like, hey, everybody come and, sing together. We're going to be very careful about that. So, coming up to Blacksburg may sound scary, which is really weird, Salem to Blacksburg, but, that's also doable, Hannah, and we would love to kind of have you around. So, yep. And same thing, Claire, we're only 15 minutes from Radford, but I can't say that without saying there is a Wesley Foundation at Radford, Marty Buchanan. And so I think you actually, Jessica, connected Claire. Okay. So Marty has a Wesley Foundation there at Radford.
Yeah. So I didn't give Hannah's information to anybody, but Emma, Claire, Ethan, and basically everyone that I know, they have your email address.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't ask permission. I just did it.
And that's okay.
I did.
You did awesome, though. You did awesome. You did more than anybody does. Okay. You are 50% of the names that we got from the Virginia United Methodist Church.
It's crazy.
There's more than 11 students coming from United Methodist churches in Virginia to Virginia Tech. And you actually gave us paragraphs that were like, hey, this is who they are and this is how you can connect. So that's awesome. I mean, Skylar and I were just talking about this.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Skylar.
Literally, we were talking about it. So.
Yep.
Yeah, Ethan, I said that you were awesome and really good with computers. So just so you know.
Which really coincidentally, we need a lot of that expertise right now. So yeah. So does that help, Hannah?
Yeah, that does.
Good.
So does anyone else have any questions? I have some random questions if anyone else doesn't, but any thoughts, questions, comments? My one question is a lot of times I would say being a student looking in at a campus ministry, I would be thinking that campus ministry is we just do service together. But I know that that's not what Wesley only does. So
Yep.
Can you give an idea of what other things campus ministries do?
Yeah, I think it is different across the board. What you're going to find at Wesley at Virginia Tech is going to be different than at UVA or William & Mary or Radford, right? They're all going to be, their contexts are different, so they're going to do ministry differently. But Skylar, do you want to share kind of how we go about ministry at Wesley and the things that we do?
Yeah. So we're a team-based ministry. And so we have our SCM, who's she's the team lead of our main ministries. And so we have
SCM stands for Student Campus
Minister.
Minister.
Yes, sorry, forgot about that. Yeah, Student Campus Minister. And so we have outreach, missions, fellowship, worship, and discipleship. Yes, got them. And so basically all of the, discipleship, they do our small groups, we call them communities of grace. And then we have prayer vigil that we do. And then our outreach leads our welcome week, which is going to look a little different this year than it usually is. But yeah, so they lead our welcome week and they hand out cookies in the library and they go and meet a bunch of people. And then missions, so they lead our spring break mission trip. And they also lead, we have a tutoring ministry called Form 143, which also is going to look a little different this year, but they lead that. And then they lead 209 Market at Virginia Tech, which is our food pantry for college. I mean, it can be anybody, right? It's not just.
No, it's just college. It's only for college students.
Okay.
So food insecurity is really a big issue on college campuses. So, yep.
And then we have Fellowship, which they do like intramural sports. So I played inner-tube water polo with Fellowship this past year, and that was pretty epic, really fun. But then we also have like free family dinners and just volleyball games, and it's so fun. And then the last one is worship. So they lead some prayer walks, but they also do like worship band. They have an AV team and just worship in general. So yeah, there's a lot to get involved in that I'm sure goes on at other campus ministries that you don't even would realize. So
Yep. I mean, one of our big missions too is actually working with First United and the youth group and doing Operation Christmas Child, which Jessica, I got to get with you because we're going to do something different this year. Yeah. So we're thinking of getting away from Samaritan's Purse for many reasons, but we're thinking of doing like an angel tree. And so getting, we have some kids and children from the Fund 143 program that need, that have needs, and so we'll do some angel tree stuff with them. So
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, so I mean, we at Wesley at Tech, we have something just about every day for you to be engaged in. You don't have to do it all, right? Like, but it is there for you to do. We have a building. Radford has a building and UVA has a building. And so our building is open pretty much 24/7. We have some residents that live there, but it's a place for studying. It used to be you could gather in my assistant's office, Kelly's office, and there would be like 10 people in there, and Kelly got no work done and neither did I. And you just kind of hang out and have fun. That's a YouTube video watching session or, TikToks or whatever. But yeah, so there's a lot to do. You can get involved in many different ways, but does that answer your question, Jessica?
And I think it's also really important, like what Brett said about like you have to be involved in everything, because there's some students that just come to our small groups and they don't do anything else. And then there's some students that only do intramural sports and they don't do anything else. So like, you can make it your own in college, which is, I think, the most fun part is like, you can kind of curate it to what interests you and really make it your own. So it's really about finding your own theology through that, but it's really fun.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. I know that you guys have the rest of Hannah, Emma, Claire, and Ethan. I want you guys to hang on real quick. We won't be on forever, I promise. But I know you guys have things to run to at 10:30, so I want to honor your time. But thank you guys for hopping on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick. So Emma, the Wesley Foundation Director at UVA is Deborah Lewis. And so if you hear from Deborah, because Jessica gave her your contact information, Deborah's awesome. Their community, is a great community right there on campus. And they're like right beside a local church. And so they kind of partner with that local church a lot. But they do a lot of a great ministry there. And I'll hype you up to Deborah too and be like, definitely get her involved. So that, my big thing is just give your United Methodist campus ministry a chance. It may not be for you, and that's okay. But I think just kind of being a part of our connection, the language will be the same, right? So you're not going to hear, I think you're going to find anybody, right? You're going to find that other campus ministries may look, they may have the glamour, right? They may have the bells and whistles because they have staff of 15 to 20 people. We have, like Wesley at Tech, there's a staff of 2, myself and my assistant who's part-time. And that's why we do team-based ministry, is our students lead. And I'm not the one that's saying, hey, do this. Our students do our ministry. So just give them a chance, right? And see. So, Ethan, you're going to be getting a package from us, I think. Let me make sure. Hold on, because I have you on. I might. No, look at this. All right. So can you give me your address? Because we have a swag package to send you. of all kinds of good Wesley at VT stuff. So